So basically I had like 3 lips. It was split, and then this one was starting to swell. I look like I had been punched in the face. Hi friends, and welcome back to AmandaMuse. Today's video is a story of epic proportions. Is that how you say that? I can't believe the story is true, put it that way. But I'm gonna take you back in the history books here, back to Malaysia days when I was first pregnant and with Esme, and we went on this trip and it got real. So it gets crazy, like stitches in a hotel room. Is that even, who does that? All right, let's get into it. Let's take you back to 2011. My in-laws came out to visit in Malaysia, and Dean and I had been there for about 5 years, or no, 5 years, 5 months, let's get that straight. And we had celebrated Christmas, and then my mother and my father-in-law were gonna come out from Alberta and come visit us. I was very excited for a couple reasons. One, I love them and they're 2 of my favorite people. And then the other part of it is that I hadn't met a lot of people yet. We were on a different part of the island, hadn't quite established my friendship base. So I was very excited for visitors, okay? They were gonna be staying for about 6 weeks. We had some travel plans, but none of this involved babies or children. We didn't have any yet. And then while Dean was working, I was visiting with my in-laws, and we were going to botanical gardens and shopping and nails, and I mean, it was all good things, but we were just really busy. So they were leaving mid-March kind of thing. And after they were leaving, we were renting apartments, as you do. The condo we were living in had some damage, and so the owners were going to be doing some construction while we were away on a trip. So we had this 15-day trip planned to Bali. I'd never been to Bali. I was really excited, and it was perfect timing. The in-laws left, we were leaving the next day or the day after, and then this renovation was going to be done on our place to fix all of these tiles, and then we would come back and everything would be perfect. There was one evening where my in-laws started to talk about my dog, Wally, and if you didn't know, I had a dog, well, Dean and I had a dog together, a Cairn Terrier. I'll include a picture. He was like the cutest dog ever. Love that, was my first fur baby. They were very appreciative that they adopted our dog, except that was my baby. So there was a conversation that took place where, I don't think I've even told them this, but there was a conversation that took place where they sort of alluded to the fact that it was their dog now and that they wouldn't want to separate Wally and Major. And it couldn't, like, my heart couldn't take it. And I think that night I cried for a very long time. Oh, and we also went to Cambodia. We were busy. I mean, this was a very busy trip. So I was tired, feeling very emotional, but like too emotional. And I cried on the bathroom floor about my dog and just like missing home and feeling sad for a life that I had just said goodbye to, because we had lived in Vancouver for 5 years. And it was just like, if you've ever moved anywhere new or had to kind of close a chapter on a part of your life, it can be really emotional. So I had this very emotional experience. And when I woke up the next morning, I was like, that was weird. Like, for an emotional person, I'm very in touch with my feelings. That was a lot even for me. Like, it was weird. And I had guests and people staying over. Like, it was, why was I reacting that way? And then I was like, oh, maybe I'm pregnant. So I got the pregnancy test, because I had like about 1 million of those sticks. Because when you're trying to have a baby, which we were actively trying, but I didn't really think about it when his parents were there. You know, you have all those sticks. So I had all those, anyway. So lo and behold, I took a test and 2 lines. So I run into the kitchen because everyone's asleep. And I'm like, Dean, oh my God. And this was something like a day before my in-laws were going back to Canada. And I couldn't believe it. I was so excited. And I'm like, you know what? We have to tell them. Like, we're never going to get a chance to tell them in person again. Let's tell them. So we did. My father-in-law is such a character that he has 6 kids, right? Like, Dean is 1 of 6. He's like, that's what happens when I'm around. I'm just like, oh my God, but we had a good laugh. Anyway, long story short, it was very exciting. You know, we had this crazy busy month visiting with my in-laws, and then I'm pregnant. So we go and we're getting ready for this trip, and I'm thinking like, is this the best thing for me to be traveling in early pregnancy? I'd never been pregnant before, didn't really know what to expect. Well, we had to go. Like, fortunately, because Dean is a pilot and was a pilot there, we just, you know, went to the airport, got our tickets, and away we went. So here we are in Bali, and Bali is beautiful, and we went to what the heck, Damansara, is that right? I might be getting this is a few years ago. Anyway, the whole thing is we ended up in Nusa Dua. And Nusa Dua is kind of this newer part where they've made it really for tourists, and it's very touristy, and there's all sorts of these resorts along the beach. And we stayed at one that was these beautiful little like individual little huts almost. It was just gorgeous. So we go for lunch, and I have this beef rendang It was amazing. Now I must say, in terms of the pregnancy, I would have been maybe like 6-7 weeks pregnant, like very early on. And I was feeling just tired and certainly anxiety ridden. Like I just felt really nervous. Being that it was my first pregnancy, like I didn't know what to expect. So I was having all these emotions and yeah, just like don't know what to expect and feeling really excited, but not telling anybody because, you know, we're so early on. So I didn't tell anybody aside from my mother-in-law and my father-in-law. I don't think I had told anybody else yet. Maybe my best friend in Canada. And anyway, so here we are. And we went to this restaurant for lunch and I had beef rendang. Oh my gosh, it was so good. So that night, I didn't feel my best, but I just kind of chalked it up to being pregnant. And we're talking like I had, how do I put this lightly? Like loose bowels. This is an odd thing to talk about on YouTube. Anyways, the next day I was like, well, that food was really good. Let's go have lunch there again. And we did. Well, let me tell you, that was the beginning of the end. I started to feel like really unwell. Like I got the sweats and I was feeling clammy and I just was not feeling good. Dean wasn't feeling his best either. So I just thought, well, maybe we're tired. We've had a busy month, this and that. Well, we go to move hotels because, you know, we were traveling around on this 2-week holiday. We weren't staying in one place for the whole time. So we were moving from one hotel to the other and I was really feeling rough, like something wasn't right. So we check into this new hotel. I'm not really myself. I'm starting to get a little bit of anxiety because I tend to get anxiety when I get sick, just the way I am. So we go for a swim, and as we're laying by the pool, I remember clearly looking at Dean and being like, I'm really not feeling well. I'm gonna go back to our room and I'm just gonna have a rest. So I get back to the room, I lay in the bed, and I am so unwell that I can't get out of the bed to go get Dean. Like that is how physically unwell I was. So I pick up the phone, the hotel room phone, and I'm calling the front desk and I'm like, please find my husband. Like I am not feeling well. To the point where I am now sobbing on the phone and they can't understand me. These beautiful Balinese people, like they don't know what I'm saying. I'm really unwell. Well, I started to feel like I was gonna throw up. And I thought maybe I have morning sickness. Like again, I'm a first-time mom and I don't know what to expect. And furthermore, I'm in a different country than where I'm supposed to be. And I don't even have a doctor yet, like in Malaysia. So I was a little bit overwhelmed to say the least. So finally Dean comes back to the room, at which point I've already thrown up and my tummy is still upset. I'm thinking, so I update him. I'm very upset at this point. I'm crying. I'm just like, I don't want to be sick. Like I really hate being sick. Please just, oh, it's the worst, right? Well, let me tell you, it was like, I have choice words for my experience. It felt like it was a near-death experience. I mean, it wasn't, but when you are that unwell, it's not cute. So basically, for the next several hours, I was projectile vomiting and the other end, like at the same time. There ain't nothing like, like a moment in your marriage where you're sitting on the toilet, feeling like it might be the end of your life, and then you're vomiting into the shower while holding your husband's hand. Like, thank God for him. I have never been that sick in my entire life. It was like my body was rejecting everything, but I'm pregnant. So I was really worried. Safe to say, my husband is a little bit worried about me at this point because I'm really, really sick. So he's trying to get some stuff from the front desk. And honestly, time is a blur at this point. Like, I lost track of early afternoon to the next day. It became very blurry. But Dean sat there awake and watched me, and every time I had to go to the bathroom, he would walk with me. Now, you may have watched a previous video. If you missed it, I'm gonna link it here. It's 16 things you probably don't know about me, and one of them is that I can have a seizure. Now, I haven't had one in many years, and this goes back to then, but if it's the right circumstance, like super tired, super dehydrated, it can happen. Now, of course, if you are also just super dehydrated, which let me tell you I was, because there was pretty much nothing left in my body after that many hours of being ill, and I couldn't keep anything down. That was the worst part. I kept trying, and Dean would give me some disgusting drink and I would drink it. I don't even know what it was at this point. It was blurry, but I would keep drinking just to keep my fluids up. But when you are super sick like that, you can have a seizure unrelated to anything like epilepsy or whatever. It's just that you're super sick. So of course that's in the back of my head. Anyways, It's the middle of the night now, and I have been sick for what feels like 100 years. There is nothing left. I'm dry heaving at this point. It's horrible. But now he's finally fallen asleep, and I feel so good that he's resting because he sat there staring at me for like 12 hours. I thought, you know what? I'm okay. I'll just go to the bathroom. I should be fine. It's no big deal. But at this point, and this is like horrific, but I couldn't tell what had to go to the bathroom. Like, you know, you feel like you've lost all control. Like, I couldn't tell you what was happening. So I sit down on the toilet and I start to feel that sickness feeling again, like I'm gonna be sick, I'm gonna be sick. This is where the story gets kind of traumatic. At this point, you've been watching this video for several minutes, so I'm sorry it took so long. But basically, something happened and then I opened my eyes and Dean is looking at me and I'm like, oh, that's weird. Like, how did that happen? I'm thinking, like, how did I end up here? Oh, I'm on the floor. So what had happened is that Dean was woken up to the sound of the door, bang, 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 and the door was slamming against the wall. And he was like, what is happening? Like, he was asleep and he knew I was unwell, and then he saw I wasn't in the bed. He thought, uh-oh, what happened? Well, I guess as I was sitting on the toilet, I had lost so much fluid at this point that I blacked out and I passed out and fell off the toilet. Now, Dean had set up all of these towels on the floor. Thank goodness, because every time I went to the bathroom, I felt so nauseous and so sick that I would actually lay down on the floor. I mean, this is serious. And I would have to like crawl back into bed because I had no strength to get back into bed. Like, if you have ever had violent food poisoning, it is horrific. And so thankfully there were all these blankets on the floor, but what had happened is that I had a seizure. So my face, so you've got the door like this, and my face was like smashing against the door over and over while I was having this seizure. So when Dean found me, he was like, oh, how are you feeling? And I guess, it sounds horrific, my face is just like covered in blood because I had split my lip open. I was a hot mess. So you can see it. You can actually see, I think it's like right there. I don't need to get you zoomed in on my lip, but sometimes my lip will just puff up. So I guess it was this side, because it's this side of my lip here. And I just had to look in the mirror to see which one it was. So basically I had like 3 lips. It was split, and then this one was starting to swell. I look like I had been punched in the face because my nose was all black. Thank God I have a strong nose. My dad will have a laugh about this, but apparently my mom has like a nose of steel. She walked into a wall once and nothing happened. I think the wall cracked. So I have like a very strong nose, but I had like a black kind of, I thought for sure I was gonna get black eyes because I had a big smash here where my face was like basically hitting the door like this, right, on the corner. So I had like the beginnings of black eyes. My front lip was just a swollen mess. My bottom lip was split in 2. And I'm pregnant, let me tell you. But I don't know if you've ever experienced a seizure, if you've ever passed out, there's such a feeling of relief. I think it's like all this adrenaline rushing through your body afterwards. I felt great. I was like, I feel great. Dean's like, just come sit down. Don't look in the mirror. So I was holding up a towel. So this was where things also get a little crazy. At that point, I think that the adrenaline was so much so that I started to like, there was nothing left to be sick. I was pretty much done. I think it had been several hours of being ill. So Dean called for help and got like a nurse or somebody on staff who was a medical person. They realized I needed some serious help. And so we also added in the factor of me being early pregnancy. They had a doctor come in. Now it happened to be a Balinese holiday, but this doctor shows up in full formal Balinese wear, which is like a wrap skirt and the beautiful headdress. And I was like, hello. And so this man comes in my room. I look a hot mess. And he was so sweet, and he brought his nurse with him. And they looked at my mouth and realized I needed some stitches, but they were just gonna do them right there. So I had my face stitched up, leaning off the back of this bed. They had pillows and things. He gave me a local and he stitched up my lip like right there. And then they also gave me an exam, like it was a female nurse, and she checked to make sure that my pregnancy was fine and there was like no bleeding. Everything was totally fine. My baby was healthy. There was no worries there. Like, that was a little seed that was gonna stick, let me tell you. My lip ended up healing up fine. The rest of my trip, I could barely laugh because if you've ever had stitches in your lip, you're afraid of them like ripping. It was an experience. And then of course, just the slap in the face is that when I got back to Malaysia after this trip, the stitches had been in too long. So when they went to take them out, they didn't just come out. Oh, it was like healing on the stitch. It was an experience. So unfortunately that did taint my experience in Bali, and I'm pretty sure I will never go there again. I'm sorry, it's a beautiful place, but I can't, I won't. It was horrific. Yeah, so that's my crazy travel story. Insane. And there's actually a term called Bali belly. If you've ever experienced something similar, let me know. Spare me the gruesome details. I pretty much have overshared. Mind you, at this point, if you want to share, feel free. Leave a comment below. But that was my crazy, crazy Bali travel, pregnancy, insane food poisoning lip experience. So yeah. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. This was kind of an insane little story time. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know what kind of story you want to hear next, or if you like these kinds of videos, I'd love to hear from you. And please subscribe if you're new. I'm on YouTube every Monday live, Wednesdays and Sundays. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.